know that I've heard a lot of, talk about eliminating parts of Medicare, eliminating parts of Social Security, or at least restructuring them. Do you think it starts there?
I think it starts with entitlement reform, and it starts with a balanced budget. To believe that the United States Senate has not passed a budget, which they are required to by law for over 3+ years, that's a real problem. That's people kind of putting politics ahead of what's good for the country. And I think, a balanced budget, something we have to do at the state level, every 2 years, we should be doing at the federal level as well. But entitlement reform as well, the same way I think we did collective bargaining reform here in the state of Wisconsin. You have to take on those tough challenges, and when you look at where the cost comes, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the interest on our debt, by the middle of next decade, that's going to take up every federal dollar coming into federal government. So, you have to make the tough choices there. You have to reform those programs to become solvent, because if we don't, we could look like Greece or Spain or Portugal in a couple of years.
Well, I had Eric Hovde on this show a few weeks ago, and that was his mantra, I guess, is that if we don't get this under control, we will be the next Greece. It seems like there's a lot of differences between the Greek government and the Greek system in terms of entitlements. I mean, you talk about entitlements, they have a lot more than we do here. Is it really the same? I mean, it feels like there are more safeguards here to make sure that doesn't happen, or is that being naive about it?
No, I think it's being naive. I think the day of reckoning is not that far off. And when you look, 40 cents on every dollar that we borrow is from a foreign government, primarily China and Russia. There's going to be a day where they don't want to hold that debt anymore. And if somebody decides they don't want to hold those bonds anymore and floods the bond market, what happens? You see interest rates go up. You see our credit rating go down. No, I think we're at a point where we have to put something in place, because, I think 3-4 years from now, it's going to be too late. And we could see where we would become a Spain or a Portugal or Greece.
I know a lot of people paint the president as pretty liberal, but he has been pragmatic in a lot of areas, especially financially. You may disagree with that. But if he is reelected, which the polls right now suggest is a stronger possibility, is there a chance there, do you think, where he says, look, we need to come together and figure this out, because, some of what you're saying is true and we are headed down this path?
Yeah, I hope, but I mean, the tune of the president is more stimulus spending, which, we saw obviously didn't work. And, the president, since taking office, piling up $4 trillion more in debt, I think is the wrong direction. We have to quit spending more than we have coming in. And that's the simple, fact that I've taken away from Wisconsin politics as well, and Wisconsin government, that, we made the tough decisions. We said, we were going to have to do the right thing, which not everybody's going to agree with, but somebody has to be the adult. And I think, to show that political courage to say, normally things that are the third rail of politics you have to take on, that's what we just did in Wisconsin here. And I think you saw that people appreciated that, and I think you saw that with the recalls and the way Governor Walker won with such a broad appeal statewide, and that's what we're going to have to do in Washington, D.C. as well.
The pressure is on, I guess, though, in terms of, it's true that the public did come out in the recall and support those reforms, but the jobs have to be created, right? I mean, if we come in at the end of this year still only having created 60,000 jobs, doesn't that turn a little bit? Doesn't the public say, well, maybe this austerity isn't the right call?
Yeah, no, but I think we're heading in the right direction. And I really think when you talk about recall fatigue, there were a lot of people, and I know traveling the state, talking to a lot of small business folks and people that either wanted to hire or expand, weren't going to do anything until after these recalls. So, I think we're poised to take off as a state, even though on a national level we're still struggling, and I think we have a long road back, but I think we've put the proper policies in place that will allow people to either expand their businesses or, try and get people to relocate here in Wisconsin.